He's Matt Young from CTV, and if you follow him on socials, he's the guy that always puts up the seating maps. So tomorrow night, we'll know how many tickets are taken or not taken for the Alouettes. You see it with the Rider games. You see it up. Welcome to the Sports Cage, Matt Young. How are you?
Hey, it's good to be here. And by the way, SeaWorld does sound interesting. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever ride a whale myself, but good to be here. And contrary to popular belief, we may get into this later. No, I don't sit there and just count little blue dots all day long. I mean, I have a life. It's not glamorous, but it's a little bit better than that. But it's a fun little thing that I enjoy doing. And of course, it's CTV doing classic sports and all of that, and cover the Hilltops and Huskies. So it's busy, but it's fun. And yeah, absolutely. We'll keep updating you with the ticket counts, not just in Regina, but really across the CFL. And it's just a fun little thing. I enjoy doing it.
I'm always curious when someone finds a niche, especially on social media, and that becomes one of their things, and then people come to depend on the content. When did you get this idea, or what brought you to going, I'm going to start doing this? What spurred this originally?
Yeah, certainly. So it actually started about 2 or 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. I actually noticed another guy online that was kind of doing the same thing, only he was doing it with other stuff. So there was a guy that was doing it with just concerts, and then there was another guy that was doing it. He does it for just wrestling shows, and some he would actually take requests. So I thought, I wonder if there's a way you could take that and parlay it into sports and maybe do some CFL. Because when I go to Blades games in Saskatoon here, or Pat's games in Regina, or Saskatchewan Roughriders games, I'm like a lot of people. I wonder what the crowd is going to be like. So I kind of did a little research. I have a little bit of a computer science background. It's not great, but if you follow some of the video game stuff I like to put out, I do a lot of modding there. And I thought, well, I wonder if I could find a way to sort of emulate that somehow, only do it in Canada for CFL, or maybe NHL and even WHL and stuff like that. So I put on the old computer coding hat, which is not as big as most guys, but it was enough to sort of find a way to do this. And I used sort of a unique kind of hybrid program that kind of counts a lot of that stuff within just a couple of minutes. And when I saw it, I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And I started putting some stuff out there, and I had a lot of people message me back, and they're like, hey, that's great. How many tickets have been sold for the Blades games? I mean, what's the attendance looking like for the Pats? And then I had a couple of people say, hey, can you do the KISS concert that's coming up, in 3 weeks? Can you do this event that's coming up? And so I thought, yeah, and I kind of refined it and tuned it and started doing Rider games. And over the past year and a half, I started doing, some NHL games, Winnipeg Jets during the playoffs and stuff like that. And so it's just kind of it's a fun little hobby. And I think I do it because, one, a lot of people like it. I like to put out good content and serve the public that way. And also, it really just gets people talking about sports. I mean, you'd be surprised what attendance means in the world of fan fodder when it comes to sports, not just in Saskatchewan, but really across the country. So, you know what? I've had a few people reach out and give me some requests. Can you do the Winnipeg Jets game coming up? Can you do this game? And if I have time, I'll certainly try and do that. So I'm a big Rider fan. Follow the Riders. I love the CFL. I follow all the teams, and it's never to put a sort of a negative slant on anybody's attendance. I know everybody's talking about Winnipeg right now, so every time I put out the Winnipeg numbers, the Rider guys all sort of chime in, and now you got sort of that friendly little who's the better fan base. But it's really just to spark conversation and get people talking about football and sports, and if we find new ways to get people in seats and enjoying the product and enjoying their time, whether it be a Mosaic Stadium or Princess Auto Stadium or some other place, I think that's a good thing. So I find it really, really fun, and I'm glad a lot of people enjoy it.
Matt Young from CTV joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. The 6-1 Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the 5-2 Montreal Alouettes tomorrow. What do you make of this Rider team, and what are you expecting tomorrow in Montreal, which is typically a hard place to play? We haven't won there since 2021.
Yeah, it is a hard place to play. And I always say that, you know what, when it comes to home field advantage in the CFL, a lot of times for many years, the Riders obviously do well at home. And then you have the Montreal Alouettes, and it's a lot of travel, you know, a couple of time zones, and then you got to get back for your home game the week after. That Montreal Alouettes team is a good team, and I expect this game to be close. I've predicted a 25-24 score. I mean, I think that both teams have good defenses. Certainly, the Riders' defense has kept them in all the games that even in that game against Calgary, their defense played really, really well and kept them in it for most of that game. So I think the key is the winner of this game is going to be pretty mistake-free football. Getting rid of the penalties, not having some untimely miscues or things like that. That can really sink a team real fast, especially when you got two teams that are battling for first place in each of their respective divisions. So I think it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. The Riders usually only play Montreal once or twice a season, right? So they don't get out there to Quebec too often. It's always a great atmosphere out there. The stadium, it's got that quaint sort of charm to it. So I think this is going to be a good matchup. I think if Trevor Harris and the Riders can move the offense well enough that they can keep their defense at least off the field for a chunk of that game, they could beat Montreal on the other side. If Montreal obviously can do the opposite, they can beat the Riders. But I think this is going to be a good game, and I'm excited for it.
You're the voice of the Saskatoon Hilltops, and last year the Regina Thunder slayed the Dragon and beat the Hilltops in the PJFL final. How excited are you? Because now that it's the August long weekend and the season is upcoming, in your opinion, has junior football in this province ever been better as far as a talent and a competition level?
Oh, man, it is so incredible. And I'm a guy who watched junior football going way back to the days when it was the Regina Rams playing at the old Taylor Field. I grew up in Regina, and my dad would take me to games. And then I moved to Saskatoon many years ago and got involved with the Hilltops and junior football, especially in Saskatchewan, but in other places too. The competitive level, I don't think has ever been higher. You're seeing more and more guys get a look at some CFL camps. A couple of Hilltops last year went to some CFL camps, went to the Rider camp and that. And the pipeline there is really getting. It's really cooking, is what I like to say. So they're both the Regina Thunder and the Saskatoon Hilltops. I mean, whenever they get together, that game is always fun, and it's always fun to call because you know it's going to be a close game. You know it's going to come down to that final minute. And you're right. Last year, the Regina Thunder, they put on a masterful defensive performance in that final game against the Saskatoon Hilltops. Scott McCauley is fantastic. He knows exactly what he's doing. Used to coach yours truly back at Balfour High many years ago. We won't get into that. And him and Tom Sargent have a lot of respect for each other. And they're both great coaches. And those are two programs that are really organized. They're well run. And that's why they're always at the top of the PFC every year. But I'm excited. The Hilltops, I know, are definitely excited. I talked to Tom Sargent about that, put an article out today on it. He said he's still motivated, and he remembers that loss last year. And, of course, it's always a seesaw battle between those two teams who can win the conference championship. But absolutely, I'm gearing up, and I think the city is gearing up, and I think people are getting really excited.
Matt, we know you got to go, so we appreciate your time. On the Hilltop thing, they're not used to losing. All right. When you see it, I'll still call it Gordie Howe Bowl, all of those championships. So would you say for them, because of the way it ended last year, that this season there's some unfinished business because they were expected to win it all last year?
Yeah, 100%. You know what? The Hilltops always say there's nothing worse than losing to Regina. I'm sure it's the same in Regina. And there's nothing worse than losing at home, right? That game was at SMF Field for a reason, because the Hilltops wanted that playoff game against the Regina Thunder to be on home turf, and they didn't win it. And talking to Tom Sargent yesterday, his exact words is, "It's burning like a fire." And I think a lot of people on that Hilltops team, absolutely, they respect the Thunder for the good defensive performance that they put on and beating the Saskatoon Hilltops. I think think there's a lot of players on that team, returning guys like Corbin Eben. You got Jonathan Stevens, who went to Rider Camp earlier this year. He's going to be back for the Hilltops. No doubt that experience of Rider Camp, he'll bring that back to Hilltops training camp this year, and his presence will be big on defense. They got Charles Sawi, who's back, had a 112-yard missed field goal return for a touchdown in a playoff game last year. This team is excited, and no doubt that game coming up against the Regina Thunder, when they play them twice. They play them once in Saskatoon, once in Regina. Those games are circled, and if there's a team they want to face in the PFC final, the Regina Thunder is that team, and I'm willing to bet it's for Regina. I think the Thunder, if there's one team they want to face for a conference championship, it's the Saskatoon Hilltops, and hey, I would have it any other way. I think it's going to be an exciting season, and I'm super pumped.
All right. Matt, so throw out a social handle if people want to follow you like I do, and you can start getting the good stuff.
100%, absolutely. So you can follow me at Matt Young CTV. I tweet out all the classic sports that we do each week. Yeah. Classic sports moments on the CTV network there, and on our website. In fact, we got some really cool rider stuff that's coming up. Just a couple of weeks ago, I posted some Don Matthews mic'd up footage from 1992. Ooh. Like, this is the kind of stuff we find in our archive room. It's really, really cool. So you can follow me there, and of course, we'll keep doing the ticket maps, classic sports coming up each week. And I encourage everybody in Regina, come up to Saskatoon for a Hilltop game when they face the Regina Thunder. And I encourage everybody in Saskatoon, head down to Regina when the Hilltops play the Thunder, because those two fan bases, they're always rowdy, and it's fun, and it makes it fun for me up in the booth and the players, and I'm excited. So it's going to be an upcoming season, and it's great to be on with you guys.
Matt, thanks for this. Have a great long weekend. Let's do this again in a little bit. That's Matt Young from CTV in Saskatoon. If you follow him on socials, you'll find out just exactly. I think there was his last post, 1,000-ish tickets for tomorrow in Montreal. I'm assuming by game time, it's going to be a sellout. Hey, and don't forget, when the Riders play, get the KFC Game Day Special, the Big Crunch for only $4.95. It's funny, when a price like that, that's like pre-COVID, pre-inflation pricing. When you can get a chicken sandwich for $4.95. I was at a sub place the other day, and it was $14 for a sub now. It's crazy. So the Big Crunch for $4.95 and the Big Crunch combo for $7.95 at participating locations. All right, time to take a break here on the Sports Cage. Still to come, it's a busy show. Dave Thomas, voice of the Riders, will join us from Montreal. They landed earlier this afternoon. Depth charts are out. Sam Emilus is now on the 6-game injured list. Next man up. Everybody's going to have to step up. There's actually a lot of changes. I think there were 6 or 7 from last week's roster, but Emilus would be the biggest name. So how do they fill that role? Because he's gone for a long time. No Labor Day Classic for Sam Emilus. And it's funny, I saw the other day, I was on Twitter, somebody put out a picture of a Joe at Colts training camp. And some people are like, no, he'll be sticking around for at least all of the preseason unless something drastically happens. So it's going to be, who do we have? And who do we think can step up and go from there? We'll get Dave's thoughts. And coming up in just a couple of minutes, Farhan Lalji. He's been on tour some of the NFL training camps. Speaking of the NFL, Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys requesting a trade today. We'll see if he's got any more insight on that. And Hamilton, Edmonton tomorrow. It's a big CFL doubleheader. Game 1. Those Ticats traveling all the way across the country again to take on the Elks. He's coming up in just a couple of minutes. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports, 620 CKRM.